This one has to do with the findings of the depleted uranium, which have sparked some sort of alarms inside the Philippines. We don't hear much about it. And I've been following on it. I contact some of my people to find out. And yes, indeed, there was some involvement.
They kind of have a collaboration intercepting 100 kilograms of depleted uranium. And this is a military grade uranium. The depleted uranium were identified to contain isotopes, specifically uranium-235 and uranium-238.
I want to start with where the political conditions in Philippines are as of today, given what just transpired the last week or so. Where things are in Philippines.
Yeah. Before anything else, I would like to say Merry Christmas and advance Happy New Year to everyone. I'm happy to be back in your program, David, and thank you so much for inviting me. Again, well, now it's a little bit, tensions are quite de-escalated, I think, a little bit, and cooling off precisely because of the holiday season. As you can see, in the Philippines, Christmas and New Year is like a big thing for us. Family gets together. We have so many parties all around. So in a way, the political tension between different political actors in my country are a little bit downgraded and cooled to a greater extent. But still, as you can see, probably in the next coming days, it would be very interesting, especially the second week of January, because from what I know, there is a big protest rally that will be staged by one of the I think one of the most powerful and religious groups in the country, and that's what you call the INC. I think they would be staging a protest rally against the impeachment of the vice president, because as you can see, there are 3 impeachment cases filed against the vice president as of the moment. So there are a lot of groups, even religious groups, who are against the impeachment of Inday Sara Duterte. So one of that would be the INC, and it will be around second week of January. However, there will also be, I think, from what I know, some kind of rally or a demonstration in favor of the impeachment by some political groups or political party, and that would be again within the second week of January. And I think another protest probably will be staged against the impeachment. So it's like 3 different big protests, I think, that will happen in the second week to the third week of January. So this is a very critical moment in my country, precisely because there will be a lot of issues that will be, of course, brought up to the public. That will, it will be brought up to the public, including in the impeachment against the vice president, probably the budget, the 2025 national budget, which many people and many Filipinos or even academics and intellectuals and even some politicians would critique, or they are now criticizing the 2025 national budget of the Philippines, and it seems that it's accordingly the most corrupt budget ever in the history of my country. So these are critical issues, and of course the daily grind of Filipino people, like for example, the hard life, the increasing prices of basic commodities like electricity, transportation, even food, and basic food. These are the things that are really critical issues as well. And of course, the geopolitical issues that is going on, and we're kind of a hostage by the United States vis-a-vis China. So these are pretty much the same, quite the same issues the last few months. But I think it's more escalating in many ways. So the 2025 second week of January would be very exciting politically for the country, and I think many political observers from other countries will be looking at the Philippines because of these things.
Yeah. Well, as an outsider looking in, and you will be in a better position than me to really assess this particular aspect of it. As an outsider looking in, I'm looking at this impeachment as a political sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Motivated. And correct me if I'm wrong, Anna, and please say so if I'm wrong. I believe that this whole idea of the impeachment is to prevent the vice president from ever having the opportunity to be a president of Philippines, because that's what majority of Filipinos are wanting to have or see happen. Will I be wrong in this assessment?
I think you're correct. You're very correct in that regard. And I think this impeachment is politically motivated. It's a political harassment and some kind of political insinuated by the factions coming from the side of the current president, especially by the Speaker of the House, Martin Romualdez, which is the cousin of the president at the moment. So it's more politically motivated. I think it's more about trying to make it sure that she will not be able to run for the 2028 national election as early as now. They want to destroy the vice president image in the public and even internationally speaking. But I would tell you all of this are political harassments, and these are just political machinations of the other side. I mean, especially those people who would want to stay in power than necessary. So that's really the case. And I would agree with you, and you're totally correct on this. As far as I'm
well, just for our viewers, especially my viewers from the Philippines, because they've been asking me a lot of questions about when I'm going to bring the vice president for the interview. The opportunity is open. I'm still waiting to hear from her office. Just for you guys to know, the community, for you to know, we didn't forget this. It's just, it's protocol. You can't just call a vice president and have her here. It doesn't work that way. So just for you guys to know where things are. So.
Hopefully, if she be open to an interview from an international interview, that would be great. At the moment, I think she's very busy. She's facing impeachment, and there's a lot of attacks, and I think a lot of legal cases being filed against her. And this is really about political demolition. This is really a demolition job against her. And I think, on the other hand, it's also because of the fact that even until now, with all the political harassment, the demolition job being put forward against the vice president, you can see that in the latest Pulse Asia rating survey, in terms of political trust, in terms of public trust, in terms of, I think it's still the number. She's still the number one. She's still higher than the president, higher than any other government official when you talk about public trust. So that says a lot, that despite everything, she's still number one. And I think she's still number one when you talk about the front runner for the 2028 presidential election of the country. So of course, when you're the front runner,
of course
you're the one, the subject of almost all political intrigues and political attacks coming from your perceived opponents.
You're absolutely correct. Well, I hope things works out, because Filipino people, the average Filipino citizen, deserves better. That's my opinion about all this. So let's move on into the key topics we're gonna be dealing with, and this one, because I want you to break that story. I know it's been about a week and a half or 2 weeks, but I promised, because I told the community I'm gonna wait till Professor Anna Manda will be the one to break this story. This one has to do with the findings of the depleted uranium, which have sparked some sort of alarms inside the Philippines. We don't hear much about it, and I've been following on it. I contact some of my people to find out, and yes, indeed, there was some involvement. What is this all about, Anna, and why? And why military grade uranium, depleted uranium, is in Philippines?
Yeah, that's a very good question, David. And I think that's the same question that I have in my mind until this time. Because as you can see, the National Bureau of Investigation, in partnership with the Philippine Nuclear Research Institute of my country, they kind of have a collaboration intercepting 100 kilograms of depleted uranium. And this is a military grade uranium. The depleted uranium were identified to contain isotopes, specifically uranium-235 and uranium-238. Uranium-235 and 238, I think, from what I know based on my readings, is some kind of elements when you want to have a nuclear bomb or a nuclear energy to a greater extent. But this one are depleted already. So it means, but they can be used to produce dirty bombs. So this 100 kilograms of uranium were intercepted in multiple cities. And one of that in Pasay, which is in Manila, the other one in Cagayan de Oro, and the other one in Cebu, by some families that until now we don't know what is really, there's no explanation, there's no characterization of those who were carrying this depleted uranium in the country. And until now, the investigation has not really made public why there is such a thing as military grade uranium in the country at the moment. There was no public disclosure, and
Yeah.
I don't know the public, we don't know what's going on really with the investigation. And so there are a lot of controversies surrounding this uranium, 100 kilogram of uranium, that the public is kind of blind to it. And also it seems like it's being downgraded in media, because right after the NBI, the National Bureau of Investigation, some kind of a press conference, after that, nothing, no news anymore. Even the media is not even looking at this, in investigating this in a way deeply. And after that day, there's nothing more information. And one thing though that also is a very curious is the interception of this uranium happened in October 28th, but the press conference only happened in December, toward I think last third week of December. So there's a gap, and what happened between those times that there was no public information on this. So there are controversy. One of that would be how these radioactive materials, because these are radioactive materials, enter the country, and how it was transported in multiple cities. And second, and second to that would be, these are hazardous materials. It has an impact to the health of the people, and at the same time environmental contamination. So these are specific issues that until now the public is not aware. There was no public information as to this regard. The Malacanang Palace, the president is so quiet about this. Even the Armed Forces of the Philippines is quiet. Concerned agencies are so quiet about these things that there's lack of transparency in terms of how the investigation is being conducted, what are the results of the investigation. And the other one is in terms of accountability. There's no such thing as accountability. No one is trying to account, or no one is trying to own up to this, because that's an issue of transport of a military grade uranium. And David, you're a security expert, that when you talk about military grade, it cannot be transported by ordinary vessel. It can only be transported by a military vessel, because it's a military grade uranium, and because of its hazardous material. So that is even the question right now, where it came from, where this 100 kilograms of uranium came from, the origin of it. And another thing that is playing in the minds of Filipinos, and there are a lot of speculations about this issue, is there are two areas that they were discovered. Cebu. In Cebu, you have the EDCA bases. One EDCA base or / military base is located in Cebu, and the other one is in Cagayan de Oro. So now people are trying to speculate, saying that probably it has something to do with the U.S. military bases that is in the country, and probably they're speculating it's the Americans who transported this radioactive materials inside the country. But of course, these are speculations. We don't know yet, because as of now, no public information as to the result of the investigation, and if the investigation is still ongoing. And why is it only now? It happened on October 28th. Why the public disclosure was only on third week of December? There is really a gap. So this is like an issue that is being downplayed. The media is quiet about this, especially the mainstream media, quiet about this. There's nothing in the news. It was not really talked about. And even all security agency and concerned government agency are so quiet about this. Even the president know nothing about this thing. No comment at all.
Well, it looks like the media is in cahoot with the government. So, but to my knowledge, is usually there is a division inside the Department of Energy, which is off the books. Believe it or not, it's budget, it's off the books, and usually it deals with this kind of stuff, because Here's the thing, Anna. Right away, when I found out about this, was my first question was, Philippines does not have uranium under its soil.
No, we
Where
don't.
the
We
heck
don't.
this came from? Yeah, that was the
And we
first.
don't have refinery of uranium, and also we don't have uranium in our soil. And one thing though, and also uranium is contained in a nuclear facilities or even
Yeah,
in nuclear
yeah,
bombs. So the
yeah,
question is, who brought this kind of radioactive materials in my country, and who's responsible to it?
yeah,
Were there and the question is, in transporting, there were lapses in terms of control and oversight. That's one thing, and that should be the accountability of the current government. But
yeah.
it seems that the current government is so quiet. They are really downplaying the issue to the point that no information is like a blackout of
Blackouts.
information.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.